All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're breaking down a really fascinating twist on the classic fantasy trope. Imagine being the quietest, most invisible high schooler in your class. You know the type, just sitting in the back, reading free manga, barely even registering on anyone's radar. Now imagine your entire classroom suddenly getting swallowed up by a glowing magic circle and dumped into a dangerous new reality. Sounds pretty familiar, right? But here's the hook. What happens when that totally invisible kid realizes his stats are completely glitched, essentially turning him into an insanely overpowered assassin right out of the gate? Let's unpack this incredible journey.
So what actually happens when the quietest kid gets the most overpowered stats? Well, we drop straight into the kingdom of Radis. An entire class of students is teleported by this old man and a king, and they're basically told they are the chosen heroes, summoned to fight off a terrifying demon invasion. It's the perfect setup for a heroic fantasy. Everyone is super excited to test out their new powers. But, as we'll quickly see, the reality of this world is far deadlier, and the actual power dynamic completely answers our core question.
Section 1. Summon to a New World. Let's formally meet our protagonist, Akira Oda. Back on Earth, he was a total background character, but when the class arrives in Radis, roles are assigned. You've got Tsukasa, the charismatic class president, who gets crowned the hero, boasting an attack power double that of a fully trained soldier. But then, take a look at Akira. His assassin stats secretly double Tsukasa's. His numbers are so insanely high they appear completely glitched, literally breaking the mechanics of this world. And being a pretty pragmatic thinker, Akira's first instinct isn't to show off. Actually, scratch that, it's the exact opposite. He immediately decides to hide this terrifying true power from everyone.
To pull this off, he taps into a skill on his board called Concealed Presence, and get this, it's already maxed out. This skill allows him to completely erase his presence, making him practically invisible. So, relying on this maxed-out stealth, Akira decides to do a little reconnaissance. He eavesdrops on the king and princess and boom, uncovers a massive conspiracy. These royals, they aren't looking for saviors at all. They're manipulating these summoned students to use them as disposable pawns for a territorial war against the Eastern Kingdom.
Section 2. The Royal Betrayal, a Deadly Conspiracy.
Realizing he's in way over his head, Akira knows he needs an ally. He finds a mentor in Commander Seren Mithray, the head of the Knight Order and literally the only person whose mystic eyes can see through Akira's stealth. And thank goodness he finds him, because the royal atrocities going on behind the scenes are horrifying. They aren't just using innocent kids for an aggressive war. Akira discovers the princess is secretly brainwashing his classmates with cursed crystals. Taking matters into his own hands, Akira confronts the princess and physically shatters one of her curse crystals. But, as you might guess, a reckless act like that has some severe consequences.
Because Akira kept his status completely hidden, the princess actually cannot curse him. So what do the royals do? They target the one person protecting him. They send the king's elite assassination squad, the Night Ravens, to murder his mentor Seren. And to make matters worse, they use the brainwashed classmates to frame Akira for the murder. With the entire kingdom and his own classmates turned against him, our guy is forced to flee into the treacherous underground labyrinth.
Section 3. Surviving the Labyrinth, a brutal grind.
Now forced into exile, Akira begins this solitary, absolutely brutal grind against high-level monsters. He has to constantly level up his assassin skills just to mask his scent, sound, and body heat from the royal assassins tracking him. After weeks of pushing himself, he hits level 69 and faces a monumental hurdle. He steps into the 70th floor boss room to confront a colossal snake lion, and the labyrinth rules are absolutely unforgiving here. Once you enter, there is no leaving until either the boss or the challenger dies. It's a bloodbath. The beast brutally batters him, breaking his ribs and poisoning him right to the brink of death.
But right when he's pushed to his absolute limits, something incredible happens. Akira unlocks an extra skill. Shadow magic. And this isn't your everyday normal magic. It's an overpowered, glitched dark energy. These massive dark tentacles burst forth and entirely shred the monstrous snake lion. But even more shocking, as Akira collapses from exhaustion, the shadow magic acts completely on its own. It literally envelops him and uses stored mana to automatically heal his broken bones and cure his poison while he's unconscious. It is a terrifying yet totally life-saving ability.
Section 4. Forging New Alliances, a Found Family.
By this point, Akira isn't alone anymore. He ends up saving an exiled elf princess named Amelia from a slime, and the duo decides to team up. Descending all the way down to the 80th floor, they face another massive boss, a devastating blue dragon. Working together, they manage to defeat it. But here's the catch. It unexpectedly reverts into its true form, which is a weakened, shape-shifting, talking demon cat who claims to serve the Demon Lord. Yeah, didn't see that coming.
To spare the creature and escape the locked boss room, Acura takes a massive gamble and risks a lethal master-servant pact. And guys, this is not just some simple magical handshake. He literally has to battle the cat's murderous instincts inside a shared burning soulscape. If his soul dies in there, his physical body just becomes a corpse. But Acura brilliantly bluffs the monster, showing he has absolutely no intent to kill, and successfully links their souls, officially naming the cat Knight.
Traveling safely together now, Acura and Amelia really bond over their shared trauma of betrayal. Amelia opens up about her tragic past, how she was framed by her own sister, Kalika, labeled the child of light just because of her unique hair and eyes, and literally forced off a cliff only to be miraculously saved by a black slime. Understanding exactly what it feels like to be an outcast, Acura vows to help her. They set off across the Elven and Beastman continents to upgrade their gear and clear her name.
You know, this newly forged trio stands in stark contrast to Tsukasa's traditional hero party. While Acura, Amelia, and Knight are hardened, pragmatic, and truly understand the deep corruption of this world, Tsukasa's party is still operating on pure, naive RPG logic. They genuinely believe that if they just play the game, defeat the Demon Lord, and act like good little heroes, the king will reward them with a magical ticket back to Earth. It's a pretty glaring reminder of how traditional fantasy tropes would completely fail in a truly corrupt, pragmatic world.
Section 5. A new path chosen. Facing the demons.
This fundamental difference in worldview totally comes to a head when the Demon Lord's forces kidnap Amelia to harvest her incredibly rare resurrection magic. Akira tracks them down and engages in a desperate battle, but he's quickly intercepted by Mahiro, a fellow summoned Japanese student who actually chose to serve the demons. The power gap here is massive. Akira faints from his wounds, but then his glitch shadow magic evolves into something called Shadow Shroud. It activates a battle mode, literally puppeting Akira's unconscious body to perfectly dodge and aggressively attack Mahiro on complete autopilot. But despite Akira's insane, glitched buffs, Mahiro pulls out a cruel control spell called Marionette. He takes control of Amelia's body and forces her to plunge her hands straight through Akira's abdomen. It is a tragic, devastating blow for both of them. Akira is only saved from certain death by the sudden arrival of Crow, a legendary former hero's blacksmith, who interrupts the fight and forces the demons to retreat.
Awakening days later, Akira finds out that Tsukasa and his old classmates have arrived in town. Tsukasa, who is finally freed from his curse, asks Akira to join their party. But look at their contrasting goals. Tsukasa wants to defeat the Demon Lord to negotiate a ride home. Akira, on the other hand, brutally rejects the team-up. He completely exposes the fatal flaw in their plan. You cannot negotiate with a murderous, corrupt king who uses brainwashing and assassination. Akira knows for a fact the king will never send them back.
Following a guilt-ridden Amelia to a cliffside, we get this beautiful moment of resolve. She's terrified he'll return to Earth and forget her, and she is forever haunted by the fact that she was forced to stab him. To comfort her, Acura takes out his assassin's dagger. Instead of a traditional ring, he uses the blade to carve matching budget rings into both of their fingers. He looks at her and says, "I would willingly bear that wound if it is for her sake," vowing to stay by her side and protect her no matter what.
Which brings us to the end of our explainer today, and I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. As the quiet, completely invisible kid transforms into this unstoppable, fiercely loved protector, the Earth he left behind might just be a memory he's finally ready to let go of. I mean, think about it. With a newfound family and unrivaled power, does he really need his old world at all? Thank you so much for exploring this journey with me, and I hope this provided some clarity on the incredible evolution of the glitched assassin. Keep questioning the narrative, and I'll catch you on the next one.